Hello, welcome my friends to the Better Eurofan, that's me. For today's episode I'm going to review the Australian entry for Eurovision 2022, which has been represented by singer Sheldon Riley with the song Not to Say, after the Technicolor performance gave us by Montaigne in last year's contest, which did not make it for the semi-finals however. Being the first flop in all the participations of Australia so far, the Australian public broadcaster is still moving forward to keep proving that miles away from the European continent, music worthy of a contest like Eurovision can be done. Let's take a look to the artist who had the task to represent the Oceanic country this year in Turin. Sheldon Hernandez, mostly well known by the stage name of Sheldon Riley, is an Australian singer and songwriter. He starts into the music industry being a teenager, participating in many musical competitions, not only in his country but also in the United States. His first participation is in 2016, in the 8th season of the Australian version of the X Factor, in a first attempt as a soloist, and in a second attempt as part of a boy band named Time and Place, created as a musical project in that time. However, he gets eliminated after the second attempt in the first of the live shows. A couple of years later, in 2018, he participates in the 7th season of the Australian version of The Voice. He far exceeds the auditions in that occasion, in where he picks the mythical pop singer Boy George as his mentor during his participation on the show. After advancing through all the stages of the competition, he makes it to the grand final, in which he ended up in 3rd place. As if it was not enough, he went to participate again in the following year in the 8th season, as part of a selected group of previous contestants from past seasons, as well from other competitions like the X Factor and Australia's Got Talent. Having picked that time to the well-renowned Australian superstar Delta Goodburn as his mentor, he also had a great performance during the season, although he got eliminated in the semi-finals in that time. And if you thought that was it, there is more. Jumping from the Pacific Ocean to the United States in 2020, he participates in the 15th season of America's Got Talent. However, he didn't last too long on the competition as he got eliminated in the quarterfinals. Only with all these participations, it's absolutely evident that the boy is thirsty of success and of being on a stage. Having gone through many musical competitions, it seemed for him there was nothing else left to try. But there was one in particular that had been his deep wish since ever: the Eurovision Song Contest. In November of last year, Sheldon was announced as one of the 11 contestants of the national final named Eurovision Australia Decides, organized by the Australian public broadcaster. While the participating songs were released in last February, he quickly became the main favorite to win the national final, taking into account all his recent experiences. The televised show took place in late February, where, like the contest, the winner will be chosen with the votes of a jury present on the studio and the televote. After all the contestants had their chance to perform their respective entries, the voting results placed Sheldon in second place both for the juries and the televote, earning the necessary points to win the ticket and accomplish his string of representing Australia in the main stage of Turin. He's definitely not going to be the same after telling his story. Now here comes the respective analysis according to what he has presented in his official music video, which rather than a music video itself, is the recording of his performance in the Australian national final. Melodically speaking, it's a quite intense pop ballad, where the instrumentation is fundamentally symphonic and the piano is the main instrument. His voice in fact is very powerful, and particularly in this song it delivers to me strength and vulnerability at the same time, especially in the chorus. That melodic phrasing he does hooks you up, catches your attention and still makes you want to still listening until the end. Talking about the lyrics, it's a very personal story which has his background. Initially it was a poem written by him in an old Facebook account of his when he was 15 years old, making a reflection of his childhood after being diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome at 6 years old, on how difficult it was for him being in a conservative environment. and how he has changed since then until that moment. For those who do not have it too clear, Asperger syndrome is a pervasive developmental disorder, characterized among the many related symptoms by having difficulties in social interaction, having restricted and repetitive interests and behavior, and having speech and language difficulties. There is no treatment for this syndrome naturally, but it requires psychotherapy for managing the distressing symptoms and communication skills. Getting back to the previous comment, that post was then one of those moments when you feel proud and inspired after achieving a goal, then you want to share it with the people. Many years later, Sheldon found again that post he has written before, and then he thought about the idea of transforming that poem into a song. The rest of this is just history, although the message can be interpreted as a LGBTI pride song. Sheldon is openly gay. He has commented that it goes beyond sexuality, as an anthem for being the most authentic self in every way. Sheldon explains it in this way: I want to spread the message that you can be unapologetically yourself. A lot of us hide behind masks and we love to come out as who we want to be. There could be a little kid out there that who is watching me, and it will be the absolute world to know that I'm just showing something that's a bit different. Analyzing his performance in the national finals serving as official music video, Sheldon appears on a platform at the center of the stage, with a stack of smoke extractors behind him and lighted from the backstage. The performance is focused on him, who is telling his personal story with some drama on it. Of course, what gets full attention is his dress and the accessories he is wearing. He wears a long black dress, a crystal mesh pill crown covering his face, rings, bracelet in his arms and hands, and spiky nails. Maybe this could be an extravagant look, but this outfit, which is part of his signature artistic identity, has a deep meaning. He has commented he has always felt identified with the antagonist characters of Disney animations, as being normally perceived as different, evil, and misunderstood, and were not given a chance to explain parts of themselves that they ultimately could not change. Maleficent, Cruella de Vil, or Ursula, to mention a few of them. This empathy with these characters is the main explanation of his dark aesthetic. The crystal mesh pill crown is related with the practice of masking, as described in the second verse of the song. During the bridge, he leaves the platform to walk to the front of the stage. Then in the climax of the performance, he takes out the crystal mesh pill crown, symbolizing the fact that he's not pretending anymore and showing his true self. The final chorus is expressed in plural in this case, addressing the people that have faced or are facing the same difficulties as him, remarking they are not the same, but they are not alone. Making a summary of all the comments, the Australian entry for this year is quite impactful and moving at the same time. Being a very personal story, I can stand for sure many people that have been or are going through the same situation as him will feel plenty identified and inspired. About the staging in touring, he had it clear for the very first moment that he wanted to go big visually. During the rehearsals, it was seeing large stairs instead of the platform like the national final. He wore the same accessories, while there was an important change. Putting aside the black dress he wore, taking out the fact that the song's theme is not dark or sad, he opted for a large and heavy white dress with thousands of crystals on it. In fact, it's like a wedding dress but bigger. In addition to this, spotlights and white smoke play a big role, adding more drama to it. His live performance in the second semi-final was in fact quite similar to the national final, with the difference that he will start in the center of the stage close to the stairs, and during the bridge he will climb the stairs to the top. Apart from that, it was a sharp performance that had already worked before, and that was evident with his qualification to the final. Then, during the counting of the votes in the grand final, with the majority of the points granted by the jurors, he ended up in the 15th place. It's remarkable to say that Sheldon is in a pinnacle moment in his musical career. After telling his own personal story turned into a song, a story he never thought he would ever feel he will be able to tell, but ultimately feeling so honored of having done it. But now, having tried everything in matter of musical competitions, maybe the next step is gather all those experiences and life lessons he had having a studio album. Although he has released some singles in the past, he has planned to get a step and release his first musical production. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some news from him very shortly. And you? What do you think about the Australian entry for this year? But hear your comments down below. The discussion is going to be interesting for sure. And this is it for today's episode. Before I finish, do you like my content here? If your answer is yes, then like, subscribe and enable notifications. And also follow me in my social media. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.